My name is Sarah. I'm 45 years old and I live in a small town called Willow Creek. To outsiders, it looks like the perfect place. Quiet streets, friendly faces, little coffee shops where everyone knows your name. But if you've ever lived in a small town, you know the truth. Every smile hides curiosity, every handshake comes with gossip, and everyone is watching when you stumble. I have 2 daughters, Emma, 17, and Chloe, 15. They are my entire world. If I could, I would wrap them in bubble wrap and shield them from every ugly thing this life throws their way. But life has already been cruel. Their father, my ex-husband Daniel, died last year in a car accident. To many, it was a tragedy. To us, it was complicated. Because Daniel wasn't just my ex, he was also a liar, a cheater, and a man who left behind far more destruction than love. When he died, his secrets came spilling out. He'd been having an affair for years, and from that affair came 2 little boys. And as if fate had some twisted sense of humor, the woman he cheated with died in the same accident. The boys, my daughters, half-brothers, were suddenly orphans. Now, I never blamed those children. None of this was their fault. But my daughters, they were the ones who discovered their father's affair in the first place. They carried the weight of his betrayal long before I did. The wounds were deep, raw, and still healing. Expecting them to suddenly embrace those boys as brothers was not only unfair, it was cruel. But Daniel's parents, Arthur and Margaret, didn't see it that way. To them, I was the villain. The cold-hearted ex-wife who refused to play savior, who wouldn't let her daughters heal the family by raising their brothers. They started fighting for custody of my girls, and on top of that, demanded to move into our home. That second part, over my dead body. Now in Willow Creek, weekends mean the farmer's market. It's one of those events where the whole town shows up. Fresh bread still warm from the oven, jars of honey that catch the sunlight like liquid gold, handmade soaps that smell of lavender and mint. It's one of the few things that still feels wholesome here. This particular weekend was special. It was Chloe's 15th birthday. Her real party was planned later, but I wanted her day to still feel magical. So I gave her a budget and told her, "Go wild, buy whatever your heart wants." Predictably, she dashed off toward the candy stalls, eyes bright, already planning which chocolates to hoard. For the first hour, everything was fine. Emma and I strolled together, carrying fresh vegetables and chatting about school. But soon, I noticed Chloe hadn't returned. My phone buzzed. It was her. Her voice was trembling, broken. "Mom, please come. They won't let me go." My stomach dropped. Emma and I ran, weaving through stalls until I spotted her, my sweet Chloe, cornered near the back by a group of older women. 6 of them towering over her like a jury ready to pass sentence. Their voices cut like knives. "You should be ashamed of yourself. Turning your back on your grandparents like that. Your baby brothers need you, and you act like you don't care." Chloe's cheeks were red, her eyes wet, her small hands gripping a paper bag of sweets she no longer cared about. Emma rushed to her side, standing tall, shielding her sister even though she was shaking herself. That was my breaking point. I stepped forward, planting myself between those women and my children. "Enough," I said sharply. "Emma, take your sister, pay for her things, and go to the car." The women's faces turned to me, their judgmental eyes locking on like predators. And then the accusations began. "You're a disgrace, Sarah. A real wife would have obeyed her husband's parents. You've poisoned your daughters against good Christian values." I almost laughed. "Obey," I shot back. "Your beloved Daniel wasn't my husband anymore, and let me remind you, he was a cheater. That's the man you want them to honor." Gasps rippled through the group, but I didn't care. The shouting escalated until market organizers stepped in and asked us to leave. Imagine that. I was the one forced out, not the mob tormenting a teenage girl. But I swallowed my rage, grabbed my daughters, and left. Even then, those women followed us like vultures circling roadkill, their voices echoing in my ears as I shoved my girls into the car and drove away. That night, once the girls were safely asleep, I sat alone in the dark, anger simmering like fire in my veins. I reached out to an old friend from Daniel's parents' church, someone I still trusted. I told him what happened. He sighed, then revealed the real reason behind the attack. Margaret had gone on Facebook. She written a heartbreaking post, spinning herself and Arthur as victims, homeless, abandoned, unwanted. She claimed I had stolen all of Daniel's money and cut them off. She painted my daughters as cold-hearted granddaughters who refused to see them, and me as a monster who left two innocent Bobbies to suffer. But the worst part? She twisted the story of Daniel's affair. She claimed the woman wasn't a mistress at all, but our surrogate, that I had rejected the Bobbies simply because they were boys. I felt sick. But here's the thing about their church. It's strict. Hypocritical in some ways, yes, but they have one absolute rule. Cheating is unforgivable. They condemn it brutally, no exceptions. And Margaret had conveniently erased Daniel's infidelity from her tale. That's when the idea came. I still had all the evidence. Photos of Daniel and his mistress, texts dripping with betrayal, emails from his parents supporting the affair, messages where they called my daughters bastards and blamed them for their father's death because they exposed the truth. The next morning, I took it all to the print shop, paid extra for the best quality, high-resolution, glossy pages. Every photo sharp, every word clear. Then I spent hours crafting neat binders disguised as hymn books. On the cover, the love story of Daniel and Rebecca. Inside, page after page of his betrayal laid bare. That Sunday, before service, I slipped them onto the back table with the other songbooks. Nobody checks before grabbing one. And then, I waited. The explosion was immediate. By afternoon, Facebook was ablaze. The words people hurled at Daniel and Rebecca, brutal. The outrage toward Margaret and Arthur, unstoppable. Parents who once defended them now turned away in disgust. The same women who had cornered Chloe at the market now looked at me with shame in their eyes. Apologies started arriving. Letters for Emma and Chloe. Words of regret for how they'd been treated. Now I wasn't exactly canonized. Some still whispered that I'd failed as a wife. But even they admitted, at least Sarah didn't betray her vows, unlike Daniel and his Jezebel. That word, Jezebel, became Rebecca's permanent nickname. As for Margaret and Arthur, they were shunned. After 40 years of faithful attendance, they walked out of that church in humiliation, never to return. Margaret posted one final pity-filled rant online about how no one cares for the elderly anymore, and how her great son would have taken care of them if he were alive. The irony, Daniel couldn't even take care of himself. I had been the breadwinner our entire marriage. And me, I finally exhaled. For once, justice had been served, not in a courtroom, but in the very place where they had tried to shame me. My girls are still healing, piece by piece. Therapy helps, and so does the knowledge that their voices were heard, that the people who tried to break them were finally exposed. And me, I learned something. Sometimes revenge isn't about anger. Sometimes it's about truth. And when the truth is loud enough, it silences every lie.